Carl Sagan coined the term tholin to describe the goop produced by successors to this experiment. For 10 points each, name this experiment which underpins the theory of pseudopanspermia. Jeffrey Beta expanded the list of products in this experiment and helped develop ESA and NASA apparatuses for finding them in space. The answer is the Miller-Urey experiment. Sagan collaborated with Sidney Coleman to create a Fermi-type equation estimating the chance of this process. COSPAR provides recommendations on how to prevent this process that often involves destroying spacecraft. And the answer is biological contamination. Though others were found on the Murchison meteorite, this simplest amino acid is the only one ever directly observed in space. And the answer is glycine. At the behest of Venus, this woman completes a series of arduous tasks, such as descending to the underworld to obtain some of Proserpine's beauty. For 10 points each, name this beautiful princess who aroused Venus's jealousy. After being roped into a scheme to punish this woman, Venus's son ends up falling in love with this woman instead. And the answer is Psyche. In a story recorded by Apuleius, this bow-wielding winged god of love fell in love with Psyche. And the answer is Cupid, or Eros, or Amor, or Cupido. The god Phanes from this alternate cosmogony is often equated with Cupid. Stories from this esoteric myth tradition tell of Phanes' birth from a cosmic egg and Zagreus' dismemberment by the Titans. And the answer is Orphic mythology. Bonus 3. To begin this process, the artist applied the auricchio, or an underlayer of plaster. For 10 points each, identify this artistic medium known for its longevity. Each day, an artist completed a section of the work called a giornata. And the answer is a fresco painting. Masaccio varied the size of his giornata for his frescoes of St. Peter in the Brancacci Chapel in this Italian city. Michelangelo's David was sculpted in this city. The answer is Florence. Two members of this family, Agostino and Lodovico, collaborated on the fresco style Histories of Jason and Medea, with another member of this family, Annibale, artist of the butcher's shop and the bean eater. And the answer is Carracci. Bonus number 4. Translation can cause issues with peace treaties. For 10 points each, the English version of this 1840 treaty asserts that the Maori will give sovereignty to the British while still retaining their property, but those concepts had no direct Maori analogues. And the answer is the Treaty of Waitangi. Different versions of UNSC 242 ending this conflict called for a withdrawal from the territories or just territories. 34 American sailors were killed in the Liberty Incident during this war. And the answer is the 6-Day War. The Treaty of Wuchel between Italy and this African country gave more autonomy to it in the version written in Amharic. This country was later ruled by Emperor Haile Selassie I. And the answer is Ethiopia. Bonus 5. Molecules with a disphenoidal geometry have this electron pair geometry. For 10 points each, name this geometry, the most common one where axial and equatorial ligands swap positions in Berry pseudorotation. And the answer is trigonal bipyramidal. Berry pseudorotation is a form of this process, which IR spectroscopy observes various modes of to identify molecules in their fingerprint region. Wagging and rocking are examples of normal modes of this process. And the answer is vibration or molecular vibration. Trigonal bipyramidal molecules have 5 ligands attached to their central atom and this number of lone pairs. This is also the number of double bonds in alkane. And the answer is 0. A thought experiment about this substance is used to illustrate that meaning just ain't in the head. For 10 points each, what substance looks identical to XYZ in Hilary Putnam's twin Earth thought experiment? Aristotle grouped this classical element with earth, air, fire, and ether. And the answer is water. Putnam championed the internal form of this position. Putnam's no miracles argument supports the scientific position of this name, which holds that our best theories give us genuine knowledge of the world. And the answer is realism. Putnam's internal realism resembles the transcendental idealism of this German philosopher, who argued that it is impossible to know anything about things in themselves. And the answer is Kant, Immanuel Kant. Bonus number 7. This collection's political criticism partly led to its author spending 18 months under house arrest, during which he wrote the story Mumu. For 10 points each, name this collection that ends with the story Forest and Steppe. It opens by discussing the contrasting peasants Kor and Kalinic. And the answer is A Sportsman's Sketches. A Sportsman's Sketches is by this Russian author of the novel Fathers and Sons. And the answer is Turgenev, Ivan Sergeyevich Turgenev. Some characters in A Sportsman's Sketches, as well as Bazarov from Fathers and Sons, exemplify an archetype named for this adjective. Turgenev's Diary of a Man, described by this adjective, codified that frequently nihilistic archetype, which is similar to the Byronic hero. And the answer is Superfluous Man. Bonus number 8. By the late 16th century, a fifth of all land in this city was occupied by its conventos grandes. For 10 points each, identify this city that had 13 nunneries during the reign of Viceroy Francisco de Toledo. Today, it is the capital of Peru. And the answer is Lima. In the 16th century, most of the women in Lima's convents were born in Peru but descendants of Spaniards, thus giving them this designation. These people typically had lower status than peninsulares. And the answer is criollas. The Lima-based missionary Ruiz de Montoya established one of these Jesuit settlements in Paraguay, where he attempted to convert the Guarani to Christianity. These settlements grew following the Jesuit expulsion from Europe. And the answer is reductions. A poem by this author opens, "Tell me it was for the hunger and nothing less." For 10 points each, name this author of a poem and a novel, both titled On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, the former of which appeared in Night Sky with Exit Wounds in 2016. And the answer is Ocean Vuong. In the novel On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, the narrator's mother, Rose, was fathered by an American soldier during this war, which is the subject of Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried. And the answer is the Vietnam War. The second section of Vuong's poem, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, describes the addressee dying in this manner, quote, between my arms, unquote. A Gabriel Garcia Marquez story concerns the handsomest man in the world who died in this manner. And the answer is drowning. A king of this name was accused of having, quote, learned nothing and forgotten nothing, unquote. For 10 points each, give this regnal name of the monarch restored to the French throne after the downfall of Napoleon I. Another king of this name was executed in 1793. And the answer is Louis. Louis XVIII's government was divided between right-wing ultras and more moderate doctrinaires. Under Louis Philippe, the doctrinaires were led by this prime minister, whose ban on political meetings sparked the 1848 revolution in France. And the answer is Guizot. Louis XVIII's government cracked down on dissent after the assassination of the Duke of Berry at one of these buildings. One of these buildings in Paris is named for Charles Garnier. And the answer is Opera House.